welcome back to episode 20 of the Bullpen podcast. It was an awesome first week of IHSA baseball, so I'm going to kind of turn it over to you guys. I'm personally really excited with this being the first week, I guess last week, but this podcast was probably one I've been eyeing for a while and looking forward to, just to finally get to talk about some high school baseball. And I mean, what do you guys got? I mean, we had a big week last week.
Yeah, I mean, we usually don't get much good weather the first week of the season, so this is like, at least in my time doing it, this is the best opening week weather we've had. Like, I was actually able to see a game before the Kickoff Classic. Like, usually we're going down. That's the first baseball we're getting our eyes on, but no, it was really good. The Kickoff Classic was a blast. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but no, yeah, I'm excited for this episode.
Yeah, and I mean, special kudos to Coach Funkhauser down at Edwardsville. And Drew, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he organizes the whole thing with the Kickoff Classic. I mean, it's awesome. The hospitality we get down there, all the venues I thought were, that might have been like my biggest takeaway from the week, is like every venue was nice. We went to the brand new Plummer Park. That's a gorgeous facility, and they're still doing even more work on the place. So, no, I love the Kickoff Classic. I thought it was a great week. Got to see a lot of good stuff down there. But, yeah, big kudos to Coach Funkhauser down at Edwardsville.
Yep, you're spot on. He's been doing it for a while now and gets all the teams down there, maps out. I mean, it's tough because not every team's just coming down there and playing one game. You know, some teams come down, they want to play 2, 3, 1. They want to mix in a JV game. And he's kind of navigating that whole schedule, does a great job. Luckily this year, not a single drop of rain, I don't think, during actual gameplay. If I'm wrong with that, was there, Pete? Yeah,
we played through that. We played through.
Okay,
We don't.
all right.
We don't
You guys
stop.
Yeah, you guys are grinders over there. But I know in years past, like that's even been, even tougher for him, is having to navigate that schedule during the event when we get rain, weather that kind of forces some things to kind of mix and match after that point. So. Despite the heavy winds that I know you guys were battling some of those days and some cold nights, I thought it was a great couple days. Luckily for me, I came down on Friday, got to kind of sit on games Friday and Saturday was absolutely beautiful. I underestimated a little bit. I got too much sun. It's too much sun on the face. I got to step it up. I was in, not in mid-season form with prepping. So I need to do a better job moving forward.
Yeah, and actually, Def, I'm glad you mentioned the facilities, because while I was sitting at some of these games, especially at O'Fallon, because I think that was one of the first spots that I was at, I was like, it's unbelievable how nice these fields are. And I mean, a lot of turf fields that I was at, and for high school programs, a lot of turf fields down there is awesome. Get to play a lot of games. Maybe you don't get rained out as much. So, no, that was cool to see. And on top of that, yeah, with like what Drew said, on Saturday, I couldn't believe how nice it was. Like, I was at GCS just sitting there, and I'm not going to complain about it. It's a positive. I was just getting cooked by the sun, and I'm glad. I'll take that any day over cold, snow, any of that. So I was happy about that.
Well, one last note on the fields, because a while back we did our high school baseball field draft. Right, and I think I was the only one out of the 4 who had never been to Edwardsville. Go there Thursday night. I was at their JV field watching a game, which I'll touch on later, but Pete was over on the varsity field. Well, my game wraps up before his, so I go over and hang out with Pete, and I just got to the field, and I was like, oh my God. Like, I saw exactly what you guys were all touching on when we went through that podcast. I mean, because it's a natural playing surface, right? It might be the only field down there that we use for the Kickoff Classic that doesn't have turf. And, I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. The backdrop, the playing surface, all of it, it's awesome. So I just had to throw that in there because it was my first time seeing the field and just seeing the atmosphere there, and it's incredible.
Yeah, totally. And so I guess let's move on, and we'll kind of get back into the Kickoff Classic here a little bit later. But our typical college baseball recap from the weekend. I can kind of run through some of these scores, and if you guys have anything you want to add, as always, just feel free. But Northwestern on Friday beat Illinois 5-4. Illinois beat them 11-6 in their second game. Illinois State defeated Belmont 8-5. Illinois Chicago beat Southern Illinois 17-6. Eastern Illinois beat Lindenwood 5-4. Western Illinois beat Southern Indiana 15-5. SIUE defeated Morehead State 12-6. And Drew, am I wrong? Did you go to Southern Indiana, or what's?
No, Indiana Southeast.
Indiana Southeast. Okay.
Yeah, I know, you easily mistakable.
Okay.
But no, yeah, Southern Indiana was a long time like a D2, a really good D2. They moved into D1. Indiana Southeast, where I went, is an NAIA.
Okay.
But good
Gotcha.
baseball everywhere down there, Gavin. Yeah. So.
No, I saw that come through. I'm like, I think that might be where Drew went, but I wasn't for sure. I couldn't remember exactly.
Looking at your notes, and it looks like Edwardsville had a huge weekend. Sweeping Morehead State. I might be stealing your thunder for Saturday, Sunday, but it's just kind of cool seeing that, especially after we were posted up in SIU Edwardsville backyard for the last 4 to 5 days last week watching games, and then to see them go on the road and get a sweep. And was that on the road, or am I mistaken with that? I might need to look that up.
100% certain if they were away or home, but
I'm kind of second guessing myself. They might have been home, because typically that's one of the venues we sometimes use for a day or two down there. But big weekend for them regardless.
Yep. And then just a couple more scores on Saturday. Northwestern beat Illinois again 14-4, so they won that series 2-1. Southern Illinois beat UIC 5-4 and 10-9. Eastern Illinois beat Lindenwood 4-3. And then on Sunday, Illinois State beat Belmont 14-2. So they won their series against Belmont 2-1, I believe, or maybe it was just 2-0. I think it was 2-1. And then Hammett, you've got a nugget here about your alma mater, Lewis, if you want to
fire me up here.
Yeah,
let's go.
Little D2 action. They're on a 10-game win streak, 15-5 overall and 10-2 in conference. My dad has been keeping me all up to date on it. He'll text me the math. He's like, all right, they got this many games left at home left. They got a good tough schedule left, but if they can do this, then they'll be in the conference tournament, blah, blah, blah. He's a math guy, so he's been keeping me up to date on that. But a couple of Illinois guys have really been absolutely tearing it up for him. Mikey Kosen, that was a year before I first got here, Drew, so I never got to see him, but you speak really highly of him. Has always hit. He's hitting .488 for him right now, leading the team. And then George Bilecki, a Marist 2022 grad, I was around for him, so I got to see him in high school. He's hitting .397 with 11 home runs. 11 home runs in 20 games, so that's pretty crazy stuff.
He was always an interesting one for me in high school too, Pete, because he was a two-way guy. Left-handed arm, and I kind of like both, similarly. And then to see how much that bat has ticked up, because I don't even know if he's pitching right now. He might just be straight up a position player. But man, 11 home runs this early in the season, that's in 20 games. That's a huge, huge number. So good things happening down there in Romeoville at the alma mater. Good stuff.
Yeah, so like we talked about at the beginning, now that the high school season has started, we, similarly to our college baseball recaps, let's talk about some high school baseball recaps now. And I think the first thing we want to mention is probably the Power 25 and maybe some teams that are off to a pretty good start. So, Tyler, if you want to kind of take us through that, or Drew, whoever, go ahead.
Tyler, you can absolutely take us through it. My biggest note on it is just Power 25 updates. We're not going to update the rankings here for a little while. Pretty much every year. And I mean, this year is a little different because of how nice the weather's been. Teams are actually able to play some games. But I see here, Providence Catholic, they haven't even played a game. They haven't scheduled a game just because of probably years past. They know those always get rained out or, weather dependent. So it makes no sense to try to update the rankings this early when we haven't gotten a full slate of games. We haven't gotten a full resume yet for these teams, and I guess we won't for a long time, but we at least need to get a handful of games under our belt. We'll have to see how this week holds up, how many teams actually play, get multiple games under their belt, see what we do next Sunday and Monday for the update. But yeah, just for now, kind of just touching on some of these teams, who's hot, good performances that are maybe popping. But yeah, Tyler, if you want to just run down any noteworthy teams that maybe were in the Kickoff Classic or not, but are in the Power 25.
Yeah, so there's a handful of teams here that got off to really good starts last week. Number 2, Edwardsville, which I'm sure we'll touch on quite a bit this podcast, but they were 3-0 last week down there. At the Kickoff Classic, you got number 5 Libertyville, 2-0 start. Number 9 Manuka, 3-0 start. Number 10 New Trier, who was down at Kickoff Classic, 2-0-1 start. Number 11 St. Lawrence, 2-0 start. Number 13 Mount Carmel, 2-0 start. Number 16 Glenwood, they were also down at Kickoff Classic, 2-0 start. Number 17 Nazareth, 3-0 start last week. Number 20 Triad, who we'll also touch on quite a bit, 3-0 start down there as well in the Kickoff Classic. And number 22 Hampshire, 2-0 start. But also I think Hammett shot this note over to us. Just from us doing daily roundup, we kind of see, what's going on elsewhere across the state day to day with the scores. But Revis might be a team to watch. 1-3 start, but kudos to them for their scheduling. Scheduled games against Naz, Brother Rice, and Mount Carmel. They lost those 3 games, but they were all really close and competitive games. So kudos to them, man. They're clearly not afraid to play, some of the best competition in the state. And I would say that's probably going to help pay off towards the end of the year, right? It helps you be battle tested early on in the season, and then ideally it probably makes their conference games later in the year not as challenging. So.
Well, I mean, they made a run last year. They made it to sectionals last year. They bring back Martin Villagomez, who's a really good arm. Johnny Leeson, they got some pieces over there. So they're a team to watch for sure, and they've had some, success in the past. So definitely a team to keep watch on here soon.
And Tyler, I don't know if you want to add to Mount Carmel. I know you told us that there were some pretty good pitching outings from Ellen Tenney and Matisse.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of touched on it last week when we did our, Power 25 initial breakdown. We mentioned how, with losing Ian Tosi, Connor Ellen Tenney and Jake Matisse were going to have to step up and really take over being the ace of that staff. And they threw the ball really well against Lane Tech over the weekend. They combined for 8 strikeouts over 7 innings. They only allowed 1 run. They beat Lane Tech 4-1 on Saturday. So really good to see that they're off to hot starts. Ellen Tenney especially, I believe he struck out 5 over 3 innings of work. So, yeah, big shout out to those guys.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at some scores now from around the state. I mean, these obviously there was a ton of games, so this is just kind of some of the more notable highlights or things like that. But down at the Kickoff Classic, St. Joe Ogden beat Columbia 3-0. Nolan Early threw 4 innings, struck out 4, allowed 2 hits, and I think we'll probably get into some of this stuff. I mean, you might hear this multiple times. But Champaign Central won 8-2 over O'Fallon, and one thing that I just thought was notable, Patrick Kennedy threw 3.2 innings, struck out 7, allowed no runs, and we had his fastball up to 88, which I know he's always kind of been that low 80s guy, but he moved pretty well, and I mean up to 88 now. It's good to see velo's ticking up, and yeah, go ahead, Pete.
Tyler was there for this convo, I believe, as well. His mom came up to us and was asking us about his outing. Very nice lady. She was super excited because 88 was a PR for him. So nice. We always love to see that, especially that early in the year with it being chilly like that. Man, I mean, when it gets a little hotter, I'm not going to get him too hyped up, but we could start seeing some bigger numbers out of him throughout the spring.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Just with some of the numbers we saw, it wasn't the warmest of temps at times this past week. So, but no, that's a great shout because I'm going to have a similar note on a guy I'd talk about later.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good note for just Champaign Central's club, to have an arm like that because we like their team. We saw them. They're scrappy. Coach Staub does a great job with those guys. So that to me just kind of elevates the level of their club as well when you're able to throw out an arm that's up to he struck out 7 and 3 2/3. I don't think 7 and 3 2/3.
It was a little, but he's super athletic. I mean, I'm going to talk about him later, but I was pretty in on it. I think it's got a chance to pop in college.
Nice.
And I think probably, and I might be wrong in saying this, but just personally, the biggest takeaway from the Kickoff Classic was Edwardsville beating Normal Community 11-0. That was you blow them out. And I mean, we value Community's team. We think they have a pretty good roster, and I think it just shows how good Edwardsville is, to be honest. I mean, Joe Chirotto threw 3 innings, didn't give up a run, struck out 6, and only allowed 2 hits.
Well, I think to your point, when you look at these teams and you look at the scores, okay, it can be super deceiving. If Edwardsville played normal community and normal community threw their seventh best arm, or if Edwardsville threw their seventh best arm. But Edwardsville is going out there throwing Joe Chirotto, and Normal's coming with Gavin Swartz. Those are two of their top arms on both clubs. And then for Edwardsville to do that, beat them 11-0. I just speak to exactly what you're talking about, Gavin. Like, that's a extremely high quality win, and it speaks to just how dynamic and talented that Edwardsville club is. And I know we'll talk about it, but that's the other thing too. Like, you can look at all these scores, and I do it with college baseball as well. It's like, who is on the mound? Who is starting the game? Because that's a huge indicator, of at least like, how should you view that game and that win and that quality? And that's something that we try to look at when we do Power 25 stuff. And we look at the wins, losses. It's okay, who was pitching? Did one team play 7 games in 1 week and they're on there, the last of their arms, and is one team all loaded up and they're throwing their 1 and 2 at them? Like, because it does play a huge factor.
Yeah. And then, just kind of running through it now. Lane Tech beat Loyola Academy 4-3. Joe Kelly, 12 strikeouts and 5 innings pitched for Loyola. So shout out to Joe for that. Good outing there. Oswego defeated Effingham 13-2. Big game for Cam Jenkins. We'll get into that later. Number 6, Brother Rice defeated Revis 4-1. Braden McKendrick threw 4 innings, struck out 4, got the win. Number 24, St. Charles East defeated South Elgin. Nathan Beers, Gavin Fussone, if I'm saying that right, and Nick
I think it's
Santelli.
Fuscone. There's supposed to be a C in there.
Fuscone,
Yep.
Sorry about that. They threw a combined no-hitter. And then again, Edwardsville beat number 12, Joliet Catholic, at the Kickoff Classic. Again, we'll probably talk about that. Joe Chirotto, 2 hits on the day, RBI, a run, and that game was 5-4. Number 10, New Trier beat number 14, Mascoutah, 12-6. Glenwood beat McCracken County, a Kentucky team, 4-3. Really big game out of Dylan Huff on both sides of the ball. Again, we'll talk about that.
That was one too where Glenwood had to come from behind and had some heroics late in that game. Yeah,
and then O'Fallon beat number 18, Morris. We'll get into that one later. I was at that game. Dunlap beat normal U-High, 11-2. Big game out of Davis Weeks and Eli McConaughey. McConaughey had 3 innings pitched, no runs, 5 Ks and a walk. And then Weeks had a triple, double, single, and 2 RBIs. St. Rita beat Marist 9-3. And then Willowbrook defeated St. Patrick 8-1. And big game out of Jory Crocker, 3 for 3, 3 runs, and 5 stolen bases.
5 stolen bases is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That you're stealing first and second multiple times, and then you're stealing another bag as well. Like, I don't know if he reached base 4 times, like if it was 3 for 3 with a walk or something, but like that's an absurd number. So kudos to Jory Crocker out there.
And just to add to these scores and stuff, as a reminder, every day, every morning, early afternoon, we're posting the daily roundup, which has scores and highlights from every game around the state the day prior. So that's where you can find more scores and more information about, stuff around the state. So just keep an eye out for that each day. Yeah, so kind of looking at some of the games that we were at the Kickoff Classic, some prospects we liked. We'll kind of get into that now because obviously that's a big part of our week. Last week was watching these games, getting a look at these teams, trying to see maybe where they slot with the eye test in the Power 25, and just getting a good look at prospects from all around the state and competing against each other. It was a great week. So I know you and Tyler were down there on Wednesday to kind of kick things off. So I'll let you guys kind of get into it first here.
Yeah, the first game that I saw was St. Joe Ogden versus Columbia. A big 2A matchup with 2 of the better, power teams in that division that are both consistently good clubs. So it was a good first game to see. St. Joe Ogden ended up winning though, 3-0. Trevor Ames had an RBI double to make it 1-0, and then Jared Altenbaumer had a 2 RBI double in the 6th to put the game away, 3-0. Nolan Early, he got the start for St. Joe Ogden. He threw the ball really well. He's a SWIT commit. He was up to 89 with the fastball. Kind of sat more like 84 to 87 as he settled in, but he had a changeup and a curveball that he would go to as well. Went to both of them pretty often. And then Parker Fitch came out of the pen for the Spartans, and he was 83 to 86. He's a junior. pretty simple and easy. I like the way it worked, like the way it moved. Tight curveball in the mid-70s. He's an uncommitted arm to definitely keep tabs on moving forward. But just a couple of guys that I liked also. Mason Bagley, brother of Don Bagley. He's a friend of the show here at Kansas now. But Mason, he's an uncommitted senior, outfielder. I was really in on the approach he had at the plate. Scrappy left-handed hitter. He was not scared. I mean, he was attacking early in the count, aggressive, but not like overly aggressive. It was in a good way, like attacking in the zone. Had 2 hits on the day. And I thought he showed really well defensively, like NIO with a strong arm from the outfield. And he's like that perfect like table setter type at the top of the lineup. And then Jack Schoentag, he got the start for Columbia. He's a Three Rivers commit. He was like, it had some funk to it, like kind of deceptive, but he was 83 to 86. A little effectively wild, but I thought the fastball came out good, and he had a good changeup too that he was going to pretty often. But yeah.
Well, and Pete, just listening to you talk about St. Joe Ogden and these arms, like you mentioned Trevor Ames, he did it with a bat in the game you saw. Like I know we saw him. Will Hanna came up from Kentucky down there to help us scout as well. McCracken County was playing this weekend, so he sat on some Illinois teams. He sat on McCracken County. He got to see a lot of good stuff. But he saw Trevor Ames throw. And I just looked it up because I wanted to make sure I had the velos right. But he was 82, 84, touching 87. Struck out 5 and walked none in 5 innings pitched in his outing later on that week. So, like, St. Joe Ogden's got some arms. You start talking about 2A and having 3 guys there that are kind of pitching in the mid 80s and with
they got more than
stuff.
that.
And they have exactly. So just kind of exciting there to get an early look at St. Joe Ogden and see everything they had.
Mm-hmm. I mean, their coach was telling us, like, when we had him at the IHSBCA, he's like, we got arms, and I saw them again, and yeah, they did not roll anyone out under 83, under 82. So they got arms, especially in 2A.
That's really impressive.
That's dangerous, yeah.
Early, this early in the season too, like just to be pumping out arms. So yeah. Coach Haley over there, it looks like he's got a lot to work with.
Yeah, and Tyler, I mean, I know you were there on Wednesday. Were there any players or names or anything that you wanted to mention? Or
yeah, I saw 2 Topless versus Staunton Wednesday. I'm going to touch a little bit more on my biggest winner from that game for my prospect of the week. But 2 Topless won 23-5. I actually was able to get over for Hammett's nightcap game on Wednesday. And Hammett, I'll throw it back over to you because I know you had 2 more games Wednesday.
Yeah, following up the St. Joe Ogden game was O'Fallon and Champaign Central. Champaign Central won that one 8-2, but O'Fallon, like, they were a team we were kind of looking at for potential Power 25, and man, they got a lot of pieces that I personally really liked, and I know just talking with the staff, like, they got they showed well throughout the week, picking up a couple big wins, but they're gonna be a team we're gonna have to follow closely here. But just going down the list with them, I was a huge fan of Dane Haraski, Central Missouri commit. Really good D2, powerhouse Division II program. I love the actions on the infield. Just something about the way he moves around, the way he looks. Like, he looks like a guy. And he's got a lot of room to get bigger and stronger as well. But really big fan of the motor. Gave me a 3-7 down the line on a bunt, which I know it's a bunt, but that's still a pretty crazy time. And then he was on first base, got picked off. Well, they picked over, and he was picked off, right? But he stole second and was safe. So he's got pretty stupid speed. Yeah, I mean, that kid, I love watching that kid play. I think he's going to be a big piece for O'Fallon there at the top of the lineup, just with the game-changing speed he's got. But moving down the list, or go ahead.
I'm just good. Like, Central Missouri knows what they're doing with their middle infielders. They just came up and got Cole Funkhauser from that, Metro East area a couple of years ago, and I know Cole's already getting in the lineup as a sophomore down there. And I pulled him up because I wanted to see, like you mentioned it, they're always really, really good at that D2 level. They're 19-6 so far this year. So Dane Haraski, one to watch, because I know you were kind of texting the group like, hey man, like, he is really playing right now, really showing well, and the tools that he has with the run tool, if he can handle the bat and really defend, he defends it up the middle. You had me excited about him.
Yeah,
him.
No, go ahead.
No, to add to that, yeah, I saw him as well, and I was talking to Drew the night at night after I saw O'Fallon, and I'm like you kind of mentioned, he's got a lot of room to fill out still. He's pretty scrawny, kind of a wiry frame, but like, I wouldn't be surprised in like 3 years if he's really filled out and looking really good. because I mean, right now he's got the actions defensively, and at the plate, obviously, it's pretty solid too.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
You just love athletes, like in general, a guy that's that athletic that can stay on the infield and has room to grow in the frame. Like he's got some bat to ball skills, so you imagine that's only going to tick up. Like I think that's a great name coming out of this weekend, Pete.
100%. And then sticking with O'Fallon here, I know this is a name that you guys had seen show well at the Southern Illinois ID, I believe it would be. I was not at that, so correct me if I'm wrong. But Asher Cantu, the catcher for O'Fallon, strong kid, physical left-handed hitter. I was just a fan, just the profile, like left-handed hitting catcher with strength, was on the barrel with a double. It's a longer swing, but like, man, when he connects, it can go a long way. Yeah, I was a fan of him.
You're spot on.
Yeah.
You're spot on there with Asher. Like, really fills out the uniform. You mentioned it. We saw him the weekend of that Southern Illinois preseason ID at the Scout Day, and then he came back to the preseason All-State. Like, he just seems like a guy that's continuing to clean things up, improve his kind of, his overall skill set, I would say. Like, I think it's gotten better behind the plate. It's getting cleaner offensively, and he looks like a monster. So, yeah, good stuff.
Definitely an intimidating frame walking around. But one more guy for O'Fallon. He was a sophomore that they trotted out from the bullpen who threw it well for them. Landon Dipple. He was working low 80s, 80, 82. Curveball head depth around the 70-mile-an-hour mark. And I thought the fastball and changeup paired really well off each other. And he really sells the changeup too. So just a name to know for them. But moving over to Champaign Central, Patrick Kennedy. We mentioned him earlier. He got the start for him. He went 3 2/3 innings, no earned runs, and he punched out 7. Like I said, he was up to 88. That was a PR for him. I thought it worked really athletically. The arm works. Loose mover. He's going to throw harder, I think, personally. It's a good get for Lakeland. And he was actually swinging the bat a little bit for him, too. Had at least a hit. Might have had multiple hits for him in that day with a couple RBIs. But Trey Cole, he's a junior, uncommitted. Started at shortstop for him. Really interesting frame, 6'2", 175. Like, he's got a ton more to come there. I think there's a lot of upside in the swing. There's loose levers. He was on the barrel a couple times, but then he hopped on the mound. And it was up to 87 with levers for days. Fastball jumping out of the hand. And he was showing body control, too, for being, like, that wiry and long-limbed. Like, it's not the easiest thing in the world to, like, control your levers and be timed up and synced up and balanced, but he was like messing with timing, like doing like Johnny Cueto type stuff to the point where the umpire was like telling him to not do that. So he was like really, trying to mess with the hitters, but I thought the slider was pretty good too. It was working pretty firm, like 74, 75. Not a ton of break to it, but it had enough to get off barrels, like more of a bullet shape. But this is not a comp, but reminded me just a little bit of seeing Ike Young back a couple falls ago at Rantoul. Just the way it worked, just the way the fastball came out. Ike Young was working about like 83 to 85 at the time when I saw him. So, it just came to mind. I'm not comping him. It just came to mind. And the body types are probably really similar, I would imagine, as well. For sure. And then one more guy for me was Champaign Central. He's a guy that we're really familiar with. Ryan Pipkins. We brought him to the Junior Future Games. Freshman, hitting in their 3-hole. Man, I love the approach. Super confident. Like, he does not look like a freshman, both just with the way he carries himself and with the frame. He's pretty physical for the age. Fills out the uniform well. Left-handed hitter. Low pulse, like low heart rate in the box. Like, does not let it, speed up on him. Very polished. And he doubled. And, I mean, just the fact that he was hitting 3-hole in a team like that, the lineup is actually like there's some guys sprinkled throughout it, so that just like speaks to him as a prospect. But then the last game of the night, it was Freeburg versus Champaign Central, and Freeburg actually won that one. But a couple guys that popped for me, Max Beal, an uncommitted senior. He's a left guy, hitting in the 2-hole. He had 2 hits on the day with a double. I was a fan of the swing, pretty compact and strong. But then he hopped on the mound as well. And he was a two-way for us at the state game, so we've known that he could do a little bit of both. But he was attacking the zone in the low 80s from the left side. Strike thrower. Just a nice piece that they'll have at their disposal. And then one more guy for me, Sam Rockman. St. Louis CC commit. He's a senior. I was a big fan of the ABs he was taking. Aggressive, but not like overly aggressive. Like aggressive in the zone is the way I would like to say it. With feel for the barrel, he had 2 hits on the day with a double. And he closed it out for him on the mound. He was up to 86 with a good slider to pair. And Drew, you had mentioned you'd seen him last year as well, like basically the same thing.
Yes, Max Beal saw him as a two-way guy for Freeburg, and then same with Rockman. Like played a really good shortstop for me, and then got on the mound towards the end of the game and threw a slider off that mid-80s fastball that had some good action to it. And man, it's like Freeburg's going to be competitive if they're knocking off Champaign Central. Because just listening to you talk through Champaign Central, like that's another team we got Patrick Kennedy. You're talking about Trey Cole. And then we've got Ryan Pipkins, who also pitches as well. Like, I know you're saying he's hitting in the 3-hole, but we've had him up to like 84 on the mound.
Yeah, he did
and then
close.
you got Sugi over there as well. So, like, Champaign Central's got a lot of pieces. It would not be surprising to see them kind of, towards the end of the year have a really good record going. But, man, kudos to Freeburg for taking them down. That's a good win there.
Yeah, and then turning it over to Thursday now. I mean, I think we had a few more guys down there for Thursday. I made my way down on Thursday and saw a couple games there to end the night. But Tyler, I know you've got your first game in here, so go ahead.
Yeah, for me on Thursday, only saw one game, but it was Oswego versus Effingham. Oswego ended up winning that game 13-2, but I think the biggest thing was like watching the game was just how exact opposite the lineups were, right? Like Oswego is a very old team this year, right? 8 of their starting 9 are seniors. The lone junior is Cam Jenkins, who I'm going to touch on here in a second. But with Effingham, they only had 2 seniors in the entire lineup, so they're just young, and you could kind of tell just the body types on both sides of the field. Like Oswego's, they look like older kids, right? But like I said, Oswego won 13-2. I think the story of the game had to be Cam Jenkins. DH in this game. He's going to Missouri. He was a future gamer for us last summer. Just loved how he looked on the field. The moxie, the swag when he comes up to the plate. To me, it's how it's supposed to look for a guy who's going to go play SEC ball after high school. Right-handed hitter. Man, I just loved the approach. It was very mature. Seemed like he had a great understanding of the zone, minimal chase. He walked 3 times. When he did get a pitch, he made him pay for it, swatted an opposite field homer in the second at-bat of the game, but also was not afraid to run. Had 3 stolen bases in the game as well. Was kind of taken off right away. He was facing a lefty who I'm going to touch on here in a second, but really just loved to look at Cam. I hadn't really had an intimate look at the kid playing ever until this look, so I came away super impressed and a big fan. Next, I'm going to
ask this to you because I got to see him the next day as well. Did you think he looks a little stronger too, like physically, than he did at the future games?
And I'll say this, it was a little chilly, so all those guys were kind of wearing sweatshirts
Bundled
and stuff
up
under the jersey. Yeah. But I will say I did kind of have that thought. It's just kind of hard to tell with the big undershirts. But if you had a similar thought, then I'd say we're probably on the right track there. But moving over for Effingham, Carter Brady, left-handed pitcher, 2027, got the start for the Hearts. And, man, like, the stat line isn't going to wow you. He's a young guy, but, man, I really thought he threw the ball well. It's really intriguing look from the left side as my dog goes off in the background. But it's an athletic operation. He moves really well down the mound. Fastball was 81-83, but for me, I loved the confidence he had in his secondaries. Was going to his changeup early and often. Had high feel for the pitch, like I said. Got some ugly swings on it, too. And like I said, he was facing an older lineup, but didn't really seem to have like any sort of worry or like it was, a ton of confidence coming out of the kid on the mound against that type of squad. And then also would toss in a short vertical slider that will kind of keep hitters off balance. I think that pitch has a ton of room for growth moving forward. Like, I think it could be a really good third pitch for the kid, but he also batted leadoff for Effingham. It's an athletic left-handed swing as well. He hit the ball hard a couple times. Didn't get the results he wanted, but yeah, Carter Brady, big winner for me, and a guy we're probably going to have to earmark for the future.
My first game of the day was probably the one I was looking forward to the most on the weekend, that I was going to see at least, Edwardsville versus Normal Community. Both ranked in Power 25. Edwardsville is number 2. Normal Community is number 7. And Edwardsville, like we mentioned, they won 11-0 in 5 innings. So pretty dominant win there. I was really, really impressed with Edwardsville. I mean, we knew they had arms. We knew that they had we already knew a lot of the bats, but like we'd mentioned in the past, they're going to trot out a couple guys that we didn't know about. And one of those guys that I saw right away walking up to the field because they were taking some BP, Augie Johns. This kid, he's a senior. He's going to UMSL, Missouri St. Louis, but I was really in on just the way it looked in the box. Super strong and physical. His rounds of BP were good. He was kind of shooting to the whole field. And then I was talking to Funk, and he's like, yeah, if anyone's ever been to Edwardsville, there's like a shed in right field past the wall. Funk was like, yeah, if he gets a hold of one, he's going to hit it over that shed. And I was like, I don't doubt it. I believe you. And then lo and behold, in the game, he hits a ball like 15 feet off the ground straight at the shed. And I mean, if it was higher, it would have gone over it. But man, it was like one of those like line drive out in a hurry home runs to the opposite field. Just stupid strength. And he can work behind the plate too. He's a good little catcher as well for him. But Joe Shiroto got the start. Alabama commit, one of the top pitchers in the state. He was sitting around 87 and 90, grabbed 91 in the second inning actually. So just prove like it's cold. Like it was 40 degrees, windy. Like it is not easy to keep velocity up in that type of weather. So just kind of the fact that he was like increasing velo as he went was just further proof that that's like what it was, because we've seen him up to 94 in the past, but I fully expect him to keep rising with the velo as the spring moves on. But kind of what he's always been, 2 really good breaking balls with violent late break, and flash really good changeup in warm-ups again like he always does for me. But he gave a really high level look with the bat. He went 3 for 3 with 2 singles to the left side and a home run. So we've been talking about him, like we like him both ways. We don't really, I mean, we think he's probably more of a pitcher, but man, the more he does it with the bat, like he's making a really strong case for, obviously he's a legit 2-way, but like for what's actually better, because it's, man, I mean, one of the best arms in the state, but he might as well be one of the best position players in the state as well now too.
Well, and I think when you look at like where we have him ranked, I think it's because of the 2-way.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a super dynamic position player. You look at his stat line, like he's a 6.68 runner. He's 98 from the outfield. He's triple digit exit velocities. Like he knows how to hit. Like he can flat hit. And when you have those tools, you can hit. Like he's really, really strong, compact frame. I'm in on it as a position player. Like, hit until they tell you not to. Even at Alabama, like that's how good I think it is. Well, and then if he struggles at Alabama in the fall, then okay, like just let's see what you got on the mound and focus on that. But I love the 2-way that he's got, Pete, and I love that you had a good look at him offensively. I had another good look at him on Friday when I saw Edwardsville, and I just think he's a really good baseball player. So
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with Chiroto, and like the velo, like it's early. Like let's let the weather warm up. Let's let the juices flow a little bit. I'm sure he'll be back up to 93, 94 in no time. But I love the pitchability that he's got and the way he just competes. Overall, big fan.
Yeah, the competitiveness. I mean, yeah, I am not worried even in the slightest about the velo. Like it's cold. End of story. That's all we need to say. I also got a good look at Lucas Krebs. Their shortstop going at U of I. I really liked the actions. It was super natural and fluid. I thought the feet were really good. Showed good timing through the baseball, like controlled actions, really good hands. And he went 3 for 3 as well with the home run. So it seemed like everyone was hitting that day. Him, Shiroto, and Johns all went yard. They kind of powered that offense. But Eric Herman, he came out of the pen for Edwardsville, a Lincoln Land commit. I just thought he showed well. He was 84 to 87 with some funk in the delivery, kind of deceptive. But he showed some depth on the curveball as well, 73, 74, just a nice arm that they can trot out. I mean, they got a ton of arms over there. But for Normal Community, Gavin Swartz got the start. And yeah, I mean, he got hit around a little bit. but he also made a lot of really good pitches, and like he did not throw it as bad as the numbers would suggest. But I left feeling just fine about Gavin. Like first start of the year, he showed some really dynamic stuff. He was 89 to 91 with a really good breaking ball, 76, 78. I mean, he made a lot of good pitches. Like there was a lot of weak hits that made through holes, like that could have ended innings. Like I'm not worried about it whatsoever. I think he's gonna be just fine. Kyle Beatty was another name that I liked for Normal Community. He's a football commit actually, North Central. Just won the Division III national championship. So, I mean, I really like the actions on the infield. Scrappy kid. I'm not surprised he's a football commit. I mean, he looks the part. And he was on the barrel as well throughout the day. So, just a good look at him. And then my last game of the night was St. Joe Ogden over Breeze Central. They won 9-5. Bryson Houchins, he was a kid that he got the start on the mound. He was 81 to 83 with a lower slot, kind of like sinking it, but it would also kind of like ride at times, like if he got under it the right way. But he hits in the middle of their order. Strong right-handed hitter. I saw him swing it well earlier against Columbia as well. Just a ton of intent in the barrel, had a double. He's going to be an important piece on both sides of the ball for him. And then Asher Prumer. I was really in on this kid as well. He's a junior, so is Houchins. 81 to 84. Flashed really hard ASR. Quick arm. There's a ton more to come there. A lot to dream on. And he attacked the zone. Like, he was filling the zone up right at you, not scared. So, 2 more arms for him, just to know. Very important pieces. And then Jared Altenbomber was actually a position player that stood out as well for SJO. 2025. He was their third baseman, kind of a more compact frame, solid actions at third, but he left the yard for a home run with a strong, compact swing from the left side. So, just another name to know. St. Joseph Ogden. Saw them twice, and I mean, yeah, I think they're going to be a team to worry about at the 2A level. If we were redoing the draft, I might have to take them for my pick.
Yeah, they're always a pretty good 2A team. But no, looking over it, I think off topic a bit, but looking at my scorecard, I have always been very jealous of Tyler and Drew's scorecards because and Pete, I've never actually seen yours, but Tyler and Drew have very good handwriting and theirs are always very clean. So going into this year, my goal was to make mine look good, and I'm looking back at them and they actually look a lot better because I have pretty bad handwriting, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, mine are not clean.
The key to the game card, Gav, is finding the right pen. You got to find the right pen. You got to get a fine point that allows you to write small because we're dealing with a lot of small boxes. And then, focusing on the handwriting, that might help too. But that's hilarious that you bring that up.
And the card stock.
Yeah, the card stock is clutch.
That's been the game changer for me, Drew, is I've started using the card stock this year.
Yeah, but so I'll go to my first game. Muscuda versus Newton, and Muscuda won the game 11-0. But I think the biggest takeaway was Austin Musso in that game. Right-handed pitcher going to Arizona State. Tossed 3 innings, struck out 8, walked 1. His fastball was 87 to 93, up to 94. And he didn't use his slider a ton. I think he threw maybe 3 or 4 sliders throughout the game. And it was 79 to 82 with pretty sharp actions. He wasn't hitting the zone with the pitch consistently, but, I mean, it was very sharp, and he was throwing it hard and pretty confident. And he just on the mound looks confident. It's pretty easy, and like he just kind of knows who he is as a player. But also at the plate, like he homered 3 times, and it was a 3-run bomb, 2-run bomb, and then a solo shot. So he almost had the home run cycle, and they were all like juice, like no doubters. He hit them, and you knew it was out off the bat. And then Nolan Liebert was their second baseman. He's a 2026, and he hit some balls deep in the game over the outfielders' heads. He hit a double and a triple over their heads. And then at second base, he can pick it too. He's just an athlete. And those were probably my biggest takeaways from that game. And then the nightcap right after that was Galesburg versus Collinsville, and that was a 2-1 game. Honestly, I think the biggest takeaways were some arms for me in that game. Obviously, it was a low-scoring game, so not a ton of offense happening. But right-handed pitcher Carter Harrington from Collinsville, he's a 2025 committed to Kaskaskia. He's an athletic and loose mover. Sat 83 to 86 with the fastball. His curveball was 70 to 74 miles an hour in that game. Caden Riley for Galesburg is a big left-handed pitcher who's a 2026 and is still uncommitted. He's 6'4", 205 pounds, and he was up to 82. Thought he was just attacking the zone, honestly, and it was a good look. Like, he's a pretty upside frame kind of guy who could still add some velo as he kind of gets, more developed. But I thought it was a good look. He moved pretty well. It was super easy. And then another guy, TJ Heatherly for Galesburg. I'm going to talk about him later, so I'm not going to spoil anything on him, but I was really impressed by Heatherly. And then Adam Bobinet, big left-handed hitter for Collinsville. He homered in the game. So Galesburg scored, I want to say it was like the fourth or fifth inning. They put up a run, and then in the next frame, the bottom half, Bobinet homered first at bat and tied it up 1-1. The game ended up going into the ninth inning, and Collinsville obviously ended up winning it. But yeah, it was a good game. A lot of good pitching, so that was good to see. But that was my takeaways from my games on Thursday. So let's get into Friday's games, and Def, I'll let you start us off.
Yeah, so Triad beat Champaign Central 15-4, and I think Drew would maybe agree with me here, but maybe the biggest winner last week from what we saw at the Kickoff Classic might have been Triad. I feel like me and Drew both came away very, very impressed, just in general with their lineup. Like I said, beat Champaign Central 15-4, and listen, like, that was Champaign Central's fourth game of the week down at the Kickoff Classic, their fifth game overall that week. I just kind of think they ran into a buzzsaw in Triad's lineup. Like we said earlier, like, Champaign Central have been playing well all week. But anyway, Landon Loomis was the story of this game for me. Their catcher, he's a 2025 going to Minnesota State. 2 for 2 with two mammoth home runs. His first one, absolute moonshot out to right field. Second one was in the right center power alley there, but really heavy barrel from the left side. I think he's probably really going to hit at the next level, and he's going to probably put up dumb numbers this spring for them, in the middle of that lineup. Gabe Dever, table setter for Triad at the top of their lineup, was playing center field for me. He's going to McKendree. 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run. Didn't light up the stat sheet, but really liked his approach up there. It was very simple. He doesn't try to do a whole lot. Loved his arm from the outfield. He made a great throw from center field that made Champaign Central kind of prevent a run from scoring. And then next guy down is first baseman Keegan Sight, 2027. I know he showed well for Drew as well, but for me, 1 for 2, a double and a walk. I just feel like he's pretty patient. There is a little bit of swing and miss there, but man, when he gets a mistake and he rips off a good swing, it looks really pretty. It's how it's supposed to look, in my opinion, from the left side. Next guy is Sawyer Brunson, second baseman in this game. I think he pitched really well for somebody as well later in the weekend, but 2 for 3, 2 doubles, an RBI, scored 3 runs. On the barrel, he hit the ball hard every time. He even reached on an error later, but that was another ball he absolutely scalded. Minimal swing and miss from the right side. It's pretty flat through the zone. I really liked it. And he was batting towards the bottom of their lineup, which kind of just goes to show the wealth of options that Coach Booger over there has in that lineup. So those were my biggest takeaways from Triad and Champaign Central. One last nugget from Champaign Central. I really liked Luke McClure. In really all my looks, I saw a little bit of Champaign Central Wednesday night with Pete, but talk about a guy who can flat out fly on the field. It's Luke McClure. He's a 2025 going to Wright State. His first at bat, he draws a walk. Very first pitch steals, or he gets a second on a pass ball. Very next pitch steals third. Just a guy who kind of plays with his hair on fire. Can cover a crap ton of ground out in center field as well. So Big fan of Luke McClure after this week as well. But that's what I
That's
had from Friday.
that's an unbelievable call out, Luke McClure. I had not seen him at least in a little while, maybe not ever, but I'd seen the video. Extremely athletic kid. It was just a little raw. Like it looked like, all right, this kid's got a chance just because of the athlete, but he's got some work to do with the swing. It is way cleaner, way simpler, very balanced. Like I was in on the swing, and I think that kid's got a chance to make an impact at Wright State, for sure. Just with the game-changing speed he has. But yeah, really good shout there. I can go next here. I had 3 games at GCS on Friday. The first one, I walked up late and walked up. Dane Poe was there. So I was just, I showed up early to my game. It was kind of halfway through that game. And New Trier had beat United Township. And just the story of that game was Jake Bentavanga, a Rochester commit, had 2 home runs. One opposite field, and then the other one straight into the wind. And the wind was like no joke, like 40 miles an hour, straight into the wind over like a pretty sizable wall, like 15 feet. So just needed to shout him out there. But the game that I was there to see, New Trier took down Mascoutah. So number 10 versus number 14. Number 10, New Trier won. Darren Klein got the start for Mascoutah, sophomore. Everyone down in Southern Illinois, like all the guys I was talking to, all the coaches, like they all speak incredibly highly of Darren Klein. He had a great year last year as a freshman. They all say the same thing: wise beyond his years, like advanced pitchability, and that was exactly what I saw. Super polished. I mean, was working the corners with the fastball. He was 82 to 85, and I would fully expect that to be firmer as the spring goes on. But he also had a curveball changeup to pair that he could throw for strikes. But one name that stood out for me at the top of Mascoutah's lineup, Cameron Eddy, 2025, left-handed hitter. I just really liked the look, super athletic look, good actions on the infield, and I just liked the at-bats he was taking. He had feel for the barrel, singled, and walked twice. So patient approach, but he's one of those guys where you just walk up to the field and you're like, yeah, I like the look of that guy. I'm going to follow him, and then he showed well for me. So always loved that.
Henrik Pete, kind of what you did with Dane Poe, kind of walking up to the field, and he was already there. I was able to do that with you at this game as well. You were there, locked in on it, but I wanted to see Darren Klein. I wanted to see what Mascoutah looked like, what New Trier looked like, and like the one thing that I really noticed with Klein was like, to what you're talking about, his pitchability, like everything was down in the zone. Every miss was down. Like he clearly had a plan. He clearly had feel. Knew what he was trying to do, living at the bottom of the zone. I was really impressed with that. Same thing with Cameron Eddy. And I know you're going to get into some of the arms here with New Trier, it sounds like, so I'll let you keep going.
No, that's a great call on Klein. That was one of the notes I actually had in like my actual scout book. Like he was working like under, to the point where a lot of the pitches like that were balls were borderline, and if it was a different umpire, it comes
down to the catcher almost too. Like, hey, if every time you're presenting it and really showing it, because I saw Coach Eddy in the dugout, like kind of preaching to his catcher, like, hey, like let's get that call.
Yeah, so, I saw him giving like the thumb up type thing.
Like we got to get underneath that low pitch. Yeah,
but like also it could be the umpire, like a little bit of all that. We'll just give it, chalk it up to all that, all the above for Darren Klein not getting those calls, but. No, I was a big fan of him. Moving over to New Trier, Henrik Conniff got the start for them. Columbia commit. He just had a limited look early in the year. Like he's not going to go super deep into the game, but up to 91, swing and miss stuff, super dynamic. I think he's going to be a big piece for them. But 2 sophomores that they trotted out from the bullpen. I know Coach Napoleon is super high on them. Justice Hernandez, who we've seen a ton, and then Jackie Ryder, he's very high on him as well. A name we were maybe not quite as familiar with as Justice, but Justice was up to 87. We've seen him multiple times, but there was something about this look. He had like a different fire to him, a different moxie and like confidence that like it's just like the high school season must just bring that out in these kids, and like that's why we like the high school season so much, because there's so much passion and all that. But like, man, he was fiery in a good way, like not at anybody, like just with himself, like fiery, like confident. I was all in on the look of that. And then Jackie Ryder closed it out. He was up to 85. Super, projectable kid. That's 2 arms that they have that are very young, and they got more young arms that are in the stable as well. But I thought those 2 showed really well. And then on top of Bentavanga raking all day, Trey Myers and Ben Toft were also swinging the bat really well, especially Ben Toft. He was all over the barrel, which was great to see. Both of them showing the ability to cover the plate. But I mean, man, if those 2 are hitting and leading the offense like they were this week, that's exactly why we like New Trier so much. I mean, those 2 leading the charge. That's going to be tough for any arm to, try and cut through, especially when you got Jake Bentavanga behind him, Mason Bloom, Nick Sitchell. Like, they got names throughout. I know Drew had mentioned to me, like, because he had to bounce to go see another arm or another game. He just texted me, he was like, yeah, they're super interesting. They got pieces up and down. And
it's got to be one of the deeper teams in the state, I would think. Looking at the lineup, looking at the arms they threw out there, the arms you got to see. So absolutely.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Then my next game, it was Joliet West versus Dunlap. Joliet West won that one 6-4. For Dunlap, though, Jackson Tresenreiter got the start. Just a clean arm, 83 to 85. Thought it was noteworthy, and he was hitting in the 2-hole form as well. And then they trotted out Carter Lippens, a sophomore. They had a few sophomores that threw important innings for him with Eli McConaughey as well. But Lippens was 82 to 84. The fastball had some natural ASR, really confident in a sharp breaking ball, worked fast, filled up the zone, had some moxie to him, just an arm that I like the look of. Then Eli McConaughey, he was working around the low 80s as well, 81 to 83. I also really like the bat, and I know Gavin, you've seen him swing it well in the past, but he's going to play an important piece for them on both sides of the ball. But then another name I liked for them who showed out and did it really on both sides of the ball for me, Owen Schisler, a senior going to Illinois Wesleyan. Now, he's a left-handed hitter, left prospect, actually. He was on the barrel throughout the day, doubled, had multiple singles on the day as well. But he was 82 to 85 on the mound in Chile. It was like probably 40, 50 degrees by the time we were in this game. Right at you, like, here it is, come and hit it. 82, 85. I really liked the look, ton of strikes. Was really impressed by him both ways. And then for Joliet West, Daniel Lukanchik, Joliet West Jr., hit towards the top of the lineup, lead off. I was a fan of him. 2 hits on the day with a double. I really liked the look on the infield. Good actions, confident hands, compact right-handed swing that I think will play. Is on time. And he turned with a watch. I had him going down the line. He was a 4.77 on a turn, which is pretty legit for a turn. And then Sean Hogan, their catcher. I'm not sure if anyone else had a look at him throughout the week, but he showed well for me. Brother of what's his first name? True, you gotta help me out here. Connor, right? Yeah, Connor Hogan. Huge left-handed pitcher at Aurora now, like 6'8". Sean, not quite as big as him, but still really physical kid. He doubled to the opposite field, and I was a fan of it behind the plate with he would quality receive, and he was throwing it well, accurate on the bag in the game, so good look at him. And then my final game of the day was Dunlap and U-High, and Dunlap won 11-2 over U-High. Now, staying on the topic of catchers, I got a really good look at Caleb Hornbrook. He's long been a physical right-handed hitter for us, but I was like really, really in on the defense. Worked his butt off, really worked hard to block everything, like moving athletically too. Like these were not easy blocks. He was moving all over the place. Really strong arm in game. Picked off at least 1 or 2 people. He was not scared to throw it. But Max Willie, another bat that I really liked for U-High, he homered. I really like the upside with him. He's going to South Suburban, left-handed hitter. Just really like the frame of the swing. I think he's got a chance to pop in college as well. And then Braden Deverman, I'm going to talk about him a little bit later as well, but coming off TJ, he was up to 89. I thought he threw it well. Just, first start of the year, kind of limited, so he came out after one inning, but I thought it was impressive. Up to 89 with some swing and miss.
And Pete, I just want to kind of add too, like for Max Willie, I saw him on Saturday, and I thought he looked really good at the plate too. And honestly, I got quite a few looks at U-High last year, and I think so. I saw Max Willie quite a bit, and I think the frame has really gotten stronger, and it's looking a lot better than because last year he was a little more like not wiry, but he wasn't really filled out. I feel like he's starting to fill out, and I saw a really good, well hit double to the left center gap. So yeah, good look at Willie too, and honestly, I might talk about Davis Weeks really quick too, since you just talked about Dunlap.
Oh, please do. Yeah, he swung the heck out of it in front of me as well.
Hey, yeah, go ahead. I'll be right back, Gav.
Okay. Yeah, so Davis Weeks, not the four of us saw him, but one of our other guys that was out saw him and was kind of providing some notes on him. And I've seen him both at the plate, as a two-way, multiple times, and I think that he looks really good as a two-way, like both on the mound and at the plate. But in this look, he was 86 to 89, up to 90. His changeup was 80 to 82. His curveball was 73 to 75. And then also in that game, he was playing really well defensively at shortstop, and he collected some hits at the plate too. So just a couple more notes there on Davis, who's committed to Michigan State for Dunlap. So
yeah,
they've got a good
him.
roster.
Oh, for sure. They do. They're going to be a team to watch moving forward, Dunlap. He swung it in front of me as well. Multiple hits on the day, and I like the actions at shortstop as well. Yeah, I think, he's a shortstop, so he has no trouble athletically moving over to the mound, right? A lot of the times, pitchers, the best pitchers were shortstops back in the day because they're just athletic, like Jacob deGrom, for example. He comes to mind. He's just an athlete. He's going to be good at both, whatever one he chooses down the road. But, yeah, really good look at him.
So one team that I personally did not get a look at, one of our other scouts that was bouncing around helping us out on the weekend, got to sit on Alton quite a bit. And, man, Alton's got a plethora of arms. The first one is Logan Hickman, a 2026. Athletic, 6 foot, 190 pounds. And I'm just looking at my notes here, making sure I get all the velos right. But he's an interesting arm that's kind of been popping over the winter, one that we've had our radar up on. But he was 83, 86. He struck out 5 over 4 1/3 innings pitch. Man, it's pretty easy for how big he is as well. And then he also threw a changeup at 75, 78 with good sinking action down in the zone. And his slider was low 70s, 10-4 shape. All three of these arms that we're going to mention here are guys that we're going to have to go out and get our own, eyes on. Kind of speaking to the future of Alton, what they have coming through with Hickman being a junior. Man, next year should be a fun year for them as he's a senior. And Anderson Kaufman, he's one of our few ranked prospects right now in the 2028 class in Illinois. And honestly, did exactly what we've come accustomed to seeing out of him. Pounds the zone, kind of dominates a lineup. He can throw multiple pitches for strikes. He went 4 innings pitched, gave up 1 hit. He didn't walk anybody, 4 Ks. And Gavin, help me out here, but I know his pitch count. I think through 4 innings, he was 44 total pitches, 32 strikes. So just extremely efficient. And then on top of all of that, he's a freshman that is clean, good mover, repeats, and his velo just keeps ticking up. He was 85, 88, touching 89, which you guys can correct me if I'm wrong as well. We haven't seen that kind of velo out of him. I know this winter when we saw him at the showcase, he was more probably 84, 86. So I don't know if it's just, things tick up for him on the mound. He's that quiet competitor that gets the juices flowing, and that's kind of where that extra velocity came from. But man, to hold that for 4 innings, to do that, one of your first outings out of the season as a freshman, just speaks to the high level prospect that he is. But the other arm that popped for Alton, Jackson Doris. This was a guy I was not super familiar with. I don't know if anybody else was. but I'm getting videos texted to me and tweet updates. He's 85, 89 with a good breaking ball. So looking through these videos I've got, like, it is a very clean, athletic, quick arm, and I think he's going to throw a lot harder. Like, the fastball comes out super good. Not an overly big frame, like, just looks like an athlete that can really pitch. So really excited to get our eyes on Alton. Kind of down the road or further on this spring, maybe see them later on when they get extended even a little bit more. But really, really interesting stuff coming out of Alton there. And then I guess if you guys want, I'll just kind of feed into my Friday evening game or Friday afternoon game. It was Edwardsville versus Joliet Catholic, two Power 25 teams. You guys just touched on Edwardsville and how loaded they looked against Normal Community, Pete. And like, I saw more of the same. Now, their offense didn't explode like it did against Normal Community for me, but they put a 4-spot up in the first inning, kind of cruised for a long time. And then JCA made it interesting at the end, loaded the bases. It was 5-4, 2 outs, bases loaded, and Hunter Ball ended up getting them out of it, secured the win for Edwardsville. But just a good game overall. And in that game, I had a lot of like nuggets here. I honestly like just kind of looking through my game cards, so I may do that a little bit. But to me, arguably the best player on that field, and this is with all of Edwardsville top end, high end guys, Lucas Simulik at JCA did it for me. He looked like the best player on the field the entire day. He's going to Eastern Illinois. He's a 2026 shortstop. And just looking at offensively, like the very first pitch out of the game, he's facing Tony Eberlin, who's going to TCU for Edwardsville. He bangs it off the left center field wall for a double, like a very loud statement. And then to Eberlin's credit, he goes on to strike out the next 3 guys to leave Simulik hanging there at second to keep it scoreless in the first. But then Simulik proceeds to walk, scores 2 runs, walked again in his third at bat, stole 2 bases, and then comes up late in the game and hits a clutch RBI double to left center once again that was loud off the barrel. And, I know he performed. I'm saying he went 2 for 2 with 2 walks, a bunch of runs scored, stolen bases. But to me, it's just the way he goes about the game, the way he plays the game. The defense was high-level defense. To me, he's one of the best shortstops in the state. The arm was playing super easy and accurate with carry across the diamond. Like, he got a couple plays where he was off balance, wasn't able to really get behind the baseball. So it's, almost all arm going across the infield, and it is an extremely strong arm. He moves around really well. He's highly, highly athletic. I know he's the quarterback for JCA. And then the way he runs the bases, like, he's got a complete game to him. Was ultra aggressive, taking the right reads, reading balls in dirt, just the exact player that you would want, to coach or to have on your roster. He kind of does it all for JCA, and he definitely did it there. So that to me was like just the best look I've had at Lucas. And I think one of the biggest compliments I can give him is every time I see him, he gets better. The bat continues to tick up, the defense continues to tick up, when really there wasn't much more to tick up defensively. Like, it's already been really good. So that was a standout for me. Staying on JCA, Rocco Zamblin, a 2026 left-handed pitcher, really, really did a great job against that Edwardsville lineup. I mentioned, like, they came out, Edwardsville got 4 runs in the first inning. JCA ends up going to Rocco, and then for the next 5 innings, 4 innings, he held them scoreless. They finally got a run off him in his 5th and final inning. But it was 83-85, attacking the zone, throwing a little breaking ball at 73-76. Not a huge, big horizontal or vertical pitch. He's kind of just got enough to get off the barrel. It comes out of the same window as the fastball, and he was in the zone with it a bunch. So he made it hard on those Edwardsville hitters because he was able to pitch backwards if he wanted to. He was in the zone. So probably my best look I've had at Rocco as well. And then they bring in, towards the end of the game, Ian Campbell comes out of the pen. I'm down the side watching the game, getting videos on hitters. By the time I get my gun, get back to home, I get one pitch on the gun, and it's 91. And for anybody that knows Ian Campbell, like, he is an extremely physical, broad-shouldered prospect. He also swings the bat with all kinds of like physicality and strength in the box. But it was in the zone. It was clean. He got an out, within 3-4 pitches of that first hitter he took. So it was a little unfortunate that I had that quick of a look at him, but 91 power arm, just another arm that JCA has at their disposal. That was a huge, huge, just kind of like interesting, quick nugget out of that game for them because he's uncommitted as well. And then Edwardsville, like I could touch on all the same guys that you did too, Pete, but I think the biggest winner that's just coming out of the Kickoff Classic for them is Augie Johns. You mentioned him. He was a guy we weren't super familiar with going to UMSL. He banged a double for me as well to right center field. And then I really like the way he worked behind the plate. Like he gets after it. He's a grinder type player. Like active blocker. Pitches that were nowhere close to the zone. He's, throwing his body at it, just giving it up for the team. I loved it. So hitting in their 6-hole for him. And then another guy that I liked was Logan Porter. And I'm going to go here to my notes to make sure. So, like, Logan Porter was playing third base. Offensively, he had a single to right field in his first at bat, actually knocked in a run. But, like, the swing, I think, is still going to tick up. Like, to me, it was his defense. You look at Edwardsville as a team. Really like what they have behind the plate in Johns. Second base, you've got Hunter Ball. To me, he's one of the better baseball players in that 2026 class. At shortstop, you've got Lucas Krebs going to Illinois. And then you've got Porter at third base, and he can really defend it. It's nothing like super over-the-top action-y or anything like that. He's just a good defender. Like I noted him in pregame because he stood out on a couple double play turns. Like Coach Funkhauser hit one down the line, pushing the third baseman towards the third base bag. And the confidence and ease and quickness in the release from the third base bag to second base to turn a double play, like on that double play feed, right on the money from a lower slot. It was like, whoa, like I don't see too many high school players making that play and making it look as easy as he did. And then in game, there was a clutch situation where JCA had guys in scoring position, 2 outs, and Porter gets a ground ball. Kind of takes an in-between hop on him, catches him off the heel of the glove. He bobbles it. I can't tell you, 95% of the time I see a high school infielder bobble the ball, something bad happens after that. They panic, they pick it up, they throw it down the line, they, whatever it may be, they compound their mistake. He was so relaxed. He knew the runner. It was one of JCA's slowest runners. He knew the runner. He bobbled the ball. He picked it up. He planted his feet, and he threw a strike to first base, and he got him by a step. And I was like, that guy's got some feel. He's got a no panic to his game, and it just really, really stood out to me. Edwardsville threw a collection of arms. They started Tony Eberlin. He was up to 90 and flashed a really good changeup. And then they had Ethan Stewart and Tristan Lance, and then they finished with Hunter Ball. And Hunter Ball was exactly what we've kind of always seen, kind of sitting in that mid-80s with the breaking ball. And it did not have his most polished stuff that I've seen out of him, but I still love the way it works. All kinds of confidence on the mound, goes to the breaking ball bunch, just a really good player. So, Chiroto did it for me as well, Pete, like really swung the bat, played the game. Krebs looked good all over the place. And they just have a really, really good team. So, sorry for the long-winded nuggets there on the Edwardsville JCA game, but that, as far as a game is concerned, that was the closest, most competitive game that I sat on. And then after that game, Glenwood played McCracken County, and Will Hanna was on that game. But Tyler, I know you came over. We were watching the beginning of that game because Glenwood started one of the top uncommitted 2026 right-handers in the state, and Dylan Huff on the mound. And boy, was it as advertised. Like, I was such a big fan. We had brought him to the Future Games last year. He threw well at the Future Games, but I didn't think he showed his best breaking ball at the Future Games. It can get hot and humid down there, and sometimes the grip can be affected. But, man, Friday evening for Glenwood, like, he had the slider on point wherever he wanted it, and at times it was flashing like big sweep and sharp action. Definitely a strikeout pitch for him, but was in the zone. Such a fluid, smooth mover down the mound, was up to 89. And I just want to make sure I get all these. He ended up K-ing 7 in 4 innings pitched, gave up 1 hit, which credit to McCracken County shortstop. He was also a future gamer. He kind of ambushed a 1-0 fastball and sent it out. Got it up in the jet stream, and it was a no-doubter. But that was really the only mistake Dylan Huff made on the day. Other than that, it was a pristine outing. I love the mannerisms on the mound. There were a couple calls that didn't go his way, and he didn't really, show up the umpire. You could tell he wanted it, but he did it in the right way. So that, to me, was a huge takeaway from Glenwood, McCracken County. And then I know Dylan Huff led the charge in that comeback that night with his bat. And I know we talked about it with Austin Muzo, homering 3 times. We're probably going to get to it with Connor Blue a little bit more here, but guys, we talked about it before we started this podcast. Like, to me, one of the bigger takeaways from the Kickoff Classic was these POs. I call them PO. They're going to college to be a pitcher, and I would think Dylan Huff is the same way unless he just keeps raking. But these POs that are swinging the heck out of the bat, and sitting in the middle of the lineup on some of these teams like Mascuda, Austin Muzo might be their most dangerous bat. Homer in 3 times. Connor Blue hit a huge grand slam. He hit multiple home runs. And then Dylan Huff was just banging balls off the wall all over the place. The video of the swing looks really good too. And then watching him round the bag at first base, he can move like he's an athlete in his long levered frame. So he finished that nightcap 4 for 4 with 2 doubles and 2 RBIs. So if anybody else has anything on those games, feel free. Otherwise, we can keep working through Friday or move it into Saturday if we're done there.
Yeah, no, the best game that I probably saw on the weekend was O'Fallon versus Morris. Morris was coming into that game number 18, and O'Fallon was unranked, and I was really impressed to start with their lineup and their hitters. I thought it was they took very competitive at bats against an arm that was in the upper 80s for O'Fallon and Sam McCollum, and they started out the game. They were winning 4-0, and O'Fallon could not get their lineup going at all. And then the bottom of the 6th comes, and they score 7 runs to win basically seal the deal for them. But in the bottom of the 6th, they were down 4-3 still. Bases are loaded. Connor Blue comes up, and in my head, I just kind of jokingly thought, "All right, let's see what you got here. Let's see if you're going to be a guy here." And he comes up here, first pitch, grand slam, no doubt, over the left field wall, and the place just erupted. It was really awesome to see. But it's a good swing, like you said, Drew. He can really swing it.
He's been a guy that has impacted their lineup since he was young. So that's not like a fluke, but for him to do that on a big stage, rising to the occasion, you love to see that.
Yeah, and the next day too, he hit a 3-run homer, and I know I don't know if it was a single or a double. He had another hit in the next day as well. So he was really on the barrel in the games that we saw. So that's really good to see. And that's not even talking about probably what he's best at, which is pitching. And, the next day we see him. He was 88-91, touched 92 with the fastball. The slider was 75-77. The changeup was 82-83. And the curveball was 73-76. He threw 3 innings, struck out 7, walked 1, allowed 2 runs and 1 hit in that outing. And that was on Saturday. But back to the O'Fallon-Morris game. I thought Jack Wheeler showed well on the mound. He is a 2025 Illinois commit, really big frame, probably 6'5", with a ton of upside. And his fastball was 87-91, and his curveball was 76-77. And in that game at the plate, he collected a couple hits on the day, and I didn't see many in-zone swing and misses, which was just a good thing to note for Jack. And actually obviously, we kind of talked about some of O'Fallon's guys like Haraski, but Morris, I really like Zemi Baftieri. He's an Evansville commit that played shortstop. I thought he can just pick it really well at short. Athletic kid, moves well, confident hands. But yeah, no, that was probably my best game of the weekend. Just really close, good atmosphere, and just a fun game to watch for sure. But yeah, Drew, if you have anything, feel free, or we can move on to Saturday.
Well, you got to see Morris, which I was lucky enough to see them on Saturday as well. But I saw them in my second game of the day.
Yeah.
My first game of the day, It was Triad versus Galesburg. Uh, and we touched on it, but Triad is very good. I think they're better than we realized, and we put them at number 20 in the preseason, but I think they'll steadily climb as this season goes because they don't have many holes, and they've got a lot of arms and just a lot of quality arms, like guys that actually can pitch and do it on the mound. And in the first game of the day, I saw uncommitted senior Sawyer Brunson throwing for Triad. They ended up winning 14-3 in that first game. And Sawyer Brunson was, a name to know. I'm actually gonna kind of table him until later because he's my prospect of the week. Um, but threw well for Triad. I think kind of like set the tone. And offensively, they were on it from the get go. Like they scored in every single inning. They scored one in the first, four in the second, one in the third, and then they put up an 8 spot in the fourth, and that really just kind of broke it open at that point. But you mentioned it, Tyler. Like Gabe Deaver sets the table for them. He was good in both games for me. Just a tough out, constantly on the bases and constantly scoring runs. He scored 5 runs in 2 games, including a 3-run home run in the second game that I'll talk about later. But Hayden Bernruder, I might as well get into him now. To me, as far as prospects are concerned on that team, I know Landon Loomis did it for us as well, but Hayden Bernruder seems like a guy that checks too many boxes to not, be higher in our rankings. He's a left outfielder, hits in their 2-hole, has a huge arm from the outfield. Like it stood out amongst everybody in the pre-games that I saw. One, because it's left-handed and it's really clean and a quick arm, and then 2, it just gets all kinds of life and carry to it. But his first 2 at-bats of the day, really, really easy, kind of like flick of the wrist type of swings, and barreled both of them with all kinds of jump that I don't see too many high school kids getting that kind of jump off the barrel with how easy he was swinging the bat. Like he creates all kinds of whip and heaviness in the barrel, and the ball was just all day long jumping off his bat differently than anybody else's. But first at bat, smokes a ground ball right back to center field for an RBI single. Second at bat, does the exact same thing. RBI single right back up the middle, like basically forcing the pitcher to jump out of the way if they don't want to break their ankle, from a line drive right back at him. Third at bat, he struck out. And then fourth at bat, he smokes the ball at the second baseman. It ends up getting by the second baseman. I think depending on the scorer's discretion, you could have, he could have marked that as an E4 or as an a 2 RBI single to right. For me, I put it as an E4, but regardless, it was on the barrel again. And then just continuing to speak on him, like he ended up tripling to left center in the second game, RBI triple, scored a run, and he did have another K, and he grounded out to first. So, like, to me, looking at Bernruder, he's not a finished product. Like, he swung and missed. He expanded the zone a little bit, like things that, as far as polishing up, him as a hitter, I would like to see more of, like, staying in the zone more, being a little bit more disciplined. But as far as the tools, the bat speed, the ease, the jump off the barrel, the power potential, I'm like way, way in on Hayden Bernruder as a hitter. And then to kind of finish things off on the day, he hops on the mound. And I wasn't sure if we were going to see him because it was a bit of a blowout at that point. And he gets on the mound and is just challenging hitters with his fastball. There's a little bit of moxie to him on the mound. There's a little bit of get off me with the fastball, just like kind of the way he gets down the mound and the ball comes out of the hand. It was jumping through the zone at 88, 90, actually had it up to 92. There was a 91 sprinkled in there, a couple 90s, and then a lot of 88, 89. And he was going to a breaking ball for a strike, and it was firm, and it was kind of that shorter, sweeping type breaking ball that he can actually land in the zone. Before when I had seen him, I thought he was kind of throwing a bigger looper that actually made it harder for him to get it in the zone. But this one, he was ripping it, shorter break to it, and does plenty to get off the barrel and keep guys honest. And man, it was a really good like 2-pitch closer type of mix. So that was just a huge takeaway for me. It was Hayden Bernruder going to John A. Logan. I don't think I said that earlier. So they've got a good one there, and he'll be one to watch like as a freshman. If you're a 4-year D1, like trying to get in on that guy early, because I could see him hitting a host of home runs there at John A. Logan, or I could see him turning into something really, really interesting on the mound. But Hayden Booger, coach's son, playing shortstop, like played a really, really good shortstop and scored 3 runs in the first game, had an RBI double to left center in his last at bat. Landon Loomis scored 2 runs, was on the barrel. Keegan Sype, you mentioned him, Tyler. Like he doubled twice for me. One was a little bit of a rollover down the first base line. Depending on where they're playing them defensively, like it could have been just a 3U, but it gets past them. Hustles it into second. Like I loved it. He was thinking 2 out of the box the whole time. And then his second double, he smoked it. It was a big towering ball to the 375 sign in right center, landed kind of at the base of the wall. Really, really simple, easy juice he gets out of his bat as well. Struggled a little bit more in the second game, but he's a 2027. Like he's a sophomore with a massive frame, all kinds of strength. And left-handed hitter. And I think that was another takeaway for Triad was just how many left-handed hitters they're throwing out there. Their leadoff, their 2-hole, their 4-hole, their 5-hole, their 7-hole. Were all left-handed hitters in that first game. And sitting in their 7-hole was another sophomore, Jackson Vaughn. Now, he's nowhere near as physical as Keegan. Like, he hasn't kind of hit his maturity level yet, hasn't kind of come into his frame and what it will be down the road. But all kinds of rhythm in the box, really looked the part, looked like a hitter. Singled in his first at bat and then drew 2 walks, scored a run. Didn't play in the second game because they just have a lot of pieces at Triad, and they were mixing and matching and getting guys in. And so Jackson Vaughn was a really, really good takeaway for me there. And then looking at Galesburg in that first game, Nico Ojeda, he had been to Peoria. He's been to Peoria preseason ID a couple times. He took the best swings of the day for me. Kind of was on everything, taking intentful swings, recognizing spin. He lined out hard to right field in his first at bat. Like I put ++ on my scout card, which for me, that tells me like that thing was loud and on the barrel. And also took a ++ at bat I put because he worked the count. He fouled off a bunch of pitches. And then in his second at bat, he lined a single right back up the middle for an RBI, scored a run. But he was one to watch, left-handed hitter for Galesburg at 2026 that I like. And then going into the second game, I know I'm bouncing around a little bit here talking about Hayden Bernritter and these guys, but going into the second game, Triad, who we have ranked number 20, matched up against Morris, number 18. Really good matchup. Brett Bounce took the mound for Morris, was 84-86. Nolan Keller took the mound for Triad, and he was anywhere from like 82 to 86, more 86 early in his outing, and was flashing a breaking ball in the mid-70s and threw well all game. And I thought Brett Bounce competed, but it kind of spoke to how good Triad's lineup is. Like, they were on it. They were scoring runs. They were putting pressure on. They put up a 4 spot in the third inning that kind of opened up the game a little bit. And then late in that game, Gabe Deaver smashed a 3-run, no doubt, home run to right field. And he knew it was gone, too, which was a little interesting for me because he's not an overly big guy. I don't know how many home runs he's hit in his career. And, like, he launched this thing and knew it immediately. And it was a loud one. So that Deaver home run, like, really broke that game open and put Triad up for good. They ended up winning 9-2. And there weren't a ton of nuggets that came out of that Morris game for me, other than I still think they're a good squad. Like, I just think Triad was really on it, really playing well. That was the second game of the day for them, too. So, like, the hitters had already had a number of at-bats. Like, they seemed pretty locked in for that Triad lineup. Kind of all the things that you saw, you know, like Zini Baftieri, he was 2 for 3, 2 singles, playing a good shortstop. I really like him for them. And then Jack Wheeler, like, I know he's getting a little bit of pro attention, which he should. Like, he is a three sports standout that you know his ceiling is only going to tick up when he gets to that next level. And I do think the sky is the limit for him. Really like the way he handled himself around third base, you know, at that game that I was watching. Handled every play hit towards him. Did double off the left center field wall. The game had gotten out of reach a little bit at that point. But what struck me with the double off the wall was, like, it was off speed pitch. And he's slightly out front, and he's it's pretty much all hands, and he juices it to the left center field wall. And it was easy, and just, you don't see many high school guys that have that kind of power in their bat where they can be a little off balance on a breaking ball and then flicking their wrist and doubling it off the wall. And he's a, long strider too, like watching him run around the bases. So he just gives off that like thoroughbred type of look to you with the big body, and it's only going to get more impressive. So those were just some takeaways that I had there. Bryce Lee came out of the pen for Morris and was up to 84 with a big old sweeping breaking ball. And also, he's a physical just body to know for Morris. He's a younger prospect that should kind of impact their lineup a little bit as well. So I'm just going to double check my notes here, Gavin, but I'm pretty sure that's all I had on the Triad Morris there and what I got to see on Saturday over at Triad, which you guys talk about these beautiful fields down there. Like, chalk that one up. That's another one. Beautiful setup. They've got the turf. It's done really right. Like, I love the just kind of like the atmosphere that they have kind of set in there at that ballpark with the concession stand right there and that little brick building and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a good shout out on Triad. I really liked their field when I was there Friday. But for me on Saturday, I had two games in the final day. The first one was Plainfield North and Rochester. Plainfield North won 4-3. For me, this might have been my favorite game of the week just because of who popped. And perhaps the biggest winner in the entire week for me was left-handed pitcher Samuel Finn for Plainfield North. 2026, uncommitted. Really dominant outing. This is a guy who, to our knowledge, hasn't been to anything prep baseball-wise, maybe one tournament I think I saw on his page, but so don't really have a ton of info on him going in. Like I said, it was a dominant outing. I didn't realize until I dug more into my scout card, but strikes out the first hitter of the game. Second hitter of the game, it's a walk. He then proceeded to retire the next 9 guys in order, with 7 of those being from strikeouts. So fastball was 86-88, had like a heavy finish to it. If you watch his video, it looks like he hides the ball really well, which really helps out his curveball, which was 72-74, but he had immense feel for his breaking ball. I mean, he was putting it pretty much wherever he wanted to put it. A ton of strikes with it as well, so he's super confident in it, and it spins really well. 2,700 RPM is what I had on it multiple times, but it was living, 2,600, 2,700. Loved his demeanor on the mound, too. There was one inning, I believe it was the third inning, and he just comes out, punches out the side, and, was pumped up afterwards, obviously, and just a really stoic personality on the mound, it seemed like. But he's also a star on the basketball court. I was digging into him a little bit afterwards. So 2-sport guy, uncommitted, but man, this is a guy that I feel like is going to be on our radar for the rest of the spring. Just checking in on how he's doing the rest of the year, if not getting out and seeing them again. But yeah,
Tyler,
Samuel.
I'm not sure how current his height weight is in his profile either, but listed at 6'3", 200. There's some physicality there. There's some workhorse in that frame, if that's really kind of if that's correct.
Yeah, I think so. I think he might have 6'2" on his Twitter.
Okay.
Like I said, I was doing a little bit of digging, but just on that, when I watched him, and to give a little bit of a comp, he reminds me a lot of Andrew Abbott. I don't know if any of you guys know who that is. He's a starting pitcher for the Reds. He was actually a big-time arm out of the University of Virginia in college. Just with how he moves, the windup is almost identical. They both hide the ball really well. So that was just a guy who jumped off the page to me, when I was watching him, who he reminded me of. But moving on down, Luca Agni. We've liked Luca for a long time. We talked about him on this podcast. He came to, I want to say that was a Lockport preseason ID, and showed really well, but played shortstop, batted in the 9-hole for the Tigers. But man, I love his actions on the infield. To me, it's how it's supposed to look, especially at that age. But he's a switch hitter, primarily batting left in this game. They were facing a righty, but really relaxed look in the box. Watching him in between pitches, it's like he knows how to calm himself down before each pitch, but he hit the ball hard 2 or 3 times up at the plate, and really simple middle of the field approach. Didn't get the results he wanted on the stat sheet, but hit the ball hard to center field twice. Moving on down, and for me, like probably the unsung hero of this game, Rochester fought their way back in that last inning to score 3 runs. It was 4-0 going into the 7th. Catcher Connor Edenberg, 2027 for Plainfield North. Man, it's not going to show up on the stat sheet, but he might have been the most valuable player for the Tigers in this game. Absolutely worked his tail off behind the plate. Towards the end of the game, there were some, balls in the dirt. I want to say Rochester had the bases loaded earlier in the game, and he is just blocking his tail off, being an absolute wall back there. So I just wanted to shout him out. I feel like that type of stuff can be overlooked at times, and I didn't want to overlook that at all because as a former pitcher myself, I love seeing that type of stuff. So big shout out to Connor. So moving on now to my second game of the day, was Pleasant Plains and Civic Memorial. Pleasant Plains won 4-0, but 2 freshmen for Pleasant Plains that I know our staff is familiar with. They actually both were at a Rising Stars event last spring, so spring of 2024, and both really popped for us there. But now they're starting on varsity for Pleasant Plains. But first guy off the jump is Andrew Potoff, outfielder. He's playing right field, left-handed hitter. Man, he's just a ball player. Another guy who just kind of plays with his hair on fire. He was in right field, made 2 back-to-back diving catches out there. Really like the approach at the plate as well. It's simple, it's calm. Just kind of takes what he's given pitch-wise, uses the whole field. Next guy is Landon Meisenbacher, playing shortstop for Pleasant Plains, and man, he looks every bit of a high-level defender at the next level. Like he made a couple plays where if you watched him, you would not think he's a high school freshman. Some of just the overall actions were very advanced, and man, I'm a huge fan of him. I think the bat's still got a ways to go, but that's fine, right? They're both freshmen. They got plenty of time, but man, I just came away so impressed with both those guys.
I had one game on Saturday, and it was a really good one. It was defending 2A state champs St. Anthony versus Harrisburg, and legendary coach Jay Thompson over there. St. Anthony actually ended up winning the game on a walk-off from Henry Brent. It was an awesome game, really fast game, like a pitching duel. I love that, being a former pitcher myself. But Brock Fearday got the start for St. Anthony, fresh off basketball season here. Swick commit, but he was 83 to 85. Really clean, really athletic. I think he's got a chance to throw a lot harder in the future. And the breaking ball actually flashed like really sharp late action as well. But he just threw an inning, 2 innings actually. Still building up his arm. But a bat that stood out for me was Aiden Lauritzen, a junior. I was really, really in on the swing. I thought he took great at bats as well. He was on the barrel. It's strong and compact. He doubled to the opposite field gap, saw it deep, caught the ball right in the barrel. He also walked, so clear understanding for the strike zone. But I know Tyler saw his fair share of freshmen. I actually saw a couple really high-level freshmen this game as well, both for Harrisburg. One of them, Max Davidson, right-hander. I don't have a height and weight for him. If I had to guess, I would guess 5'11", 6 foot-ish, high-waisted, really like wiry and lean kid, really clean delivery, ton of upside there. The arm really worked. It was 77 to 79 miles an hour. And he showed a good little curveball and changeup as well. He was actually back-footing the curveball. But I think he'll be a really nice arm for Harrisburg as he continues to grow and mature throughout the years. But Dax Randolph, he was kind of the winner of the day for me. Freshman, started at second base for Harrisburg, hit leadoff. He's got some actions. He's kind of that swaggy look to him. He's got the bright colored cleats. He's got some drip, as the kids would say. But I really like the actions. And he was on the barrel too. He didn't have anything to show for it, but really aggressive early in the count. Like, the dude was not scared, freshman, facing 83 to 85 from a senior. Like, it was probably their first game as well. Like, he's swinging right away. Like, the dude was not scared. I was in. He's a little baller. And then he hopped on the mound, was 82 miles an hour. So just an interesting kid to follow for sure, moving out throughout the years. But Parker Clarita, I feel like I need to mention him. He was a senior for Harrisburg. He got the start, and he threw it extremely well over 4 innings, just allowing 2 hits, no runs, and struck out 4 against the defending 2A state champs. So it was a good game. Kind of a good way to end the week, just a little pitcher's duel and a walk-off.
Yeah, and then so my game, I saw 2 games on Saturday, and I stayed for a couple innings of the third game of the day. But the first one I saw was U-High versus Columbia, and U-High won that game 7-2. I think the biggest takeaway from that game for me was right-handed pitcher Sam Donald from Columbia. He's a 2025 Bellarmine basketball commit, and he's 6'9", 210, and he was just very wiry, but he moves pretty well, and he got easy velo. It was 84 to 88, touched 89 twice, threw a breaking ball that was 73 to 76, and a changeup that was 80 to 81, but I had not heard anything about this kid, and it doesn't shock me that Columbia's got a guy coming out here that's just throwing upper 80s, and he's just a big kid and going to play basketball in college. Like, they just seem like they always have kind of guys like that. So that was a really good thing to see, just someone that we hadn't really gotten any info on. But then for U-High, they threw Josh Jones, uncommitted 2026, who we've kind of seen quite a bit over the past year or so, I'd say. He's an really easy mover, and his fastball was 84 to 87. Touched 88. His curveball was 75 to 77. Like 11-5 shape, maybe a little more vertical than that at times, but he showed feel for it. And then he struck out 4 in 3 innings pitched. So he is one that I'll probably try and track down again this spring, just because, I mean, good mover and uncommitted kid, so one to keep an eye on. And then another guy that I was pretty impressed with from U-High was Parker Roop. He's a 2027 that, Ty, I think you saw him at Peoria this winter on the mound, and you really liked it. But yeah, he was playing short for them. I thought he took some good at-bats throughout the day, and he collected a couple hits, a double and a single, and just kind of an upside frame, very wiry kid. So I thought that was pretty impressive to see that. And a sophomore starting at shortstop for U-High is pretty impressive because they have a pretty good, like a pretty talented lineup, I'd say. So leading off for them, playing shortstop. And then the next game I saw was Oak Forest and Glenwood. Glenwood won that game 12-1, and honestly, the biggest takeaways from that was, again, their POs in Cam Appenzeller and Dylan Huff can actually hit it pretty well, swing it pretty well. Appenzeller had 2 hits on the day, one being like a no-doubt 3-run homer, and he can actually play center field pretty well too. He's just an athlete, which honestly doesn't really surprise me, just seeing some of his basketball highlights too, just how he moves around the court. And then Dylan Huff had a triple off the left field wall that was honestly almost a home run. And had the wall at GCS not been so high, it probably would have been a home run. But he had 2 RBIs on the day. And then Andrew Walbrink was their starting pitcher, and he is a 2025 going to UIS. And the velo was not like super high. I think he maybe was up to 80 or 81, but he just attacks the zone, gets outs, and he was pretty confident in like his repertoire. So I was pretty impressed with that. And then they had a guy, Tristan Schwint, who is a uncommitted 2026, a bigger right-handed arm that I had not seen before. And it's pretty interesting. Quick arm, up to 83. Showed a curveball that was 74 to 77. So a guy to know there. And then that kind of rounds out that game. And then, like I said, I stayed for U-High and Oak Forest, who played after that, and that was the third game of the day. I just stayed for the first inning. to kind of keep an eye on some arms that we knew were going to be throwing in that game. And my biggest takeaway was right-handed pitcher Ethan Kieser, U-High 2025. Was really impressive in that outing. It was 83 to 86, touched 87. The slider was 75 to 78 with like very sharp action, and he was throwing it for strikes with confidence. And he kind of gave me like the get the ball and go vibes. Like, I'm ready to throw, I'm ready to pitch, I'm going to get this kid out. And he was throwing the slider whenever he wanted. The fastball was coming in for strikes. So I was really impressed. I found out, not planning on playing in college. He is going to Ole Miss for school. But still, I was very impressed by his outing. And then...
Well, and Gavin, just real
go
quick,
ahead.
I don't mean to completely cut you off here, but you mentioned Drew Walbrink showing well for Glenwood. So he had an older brother, Gavin Walbrink, who graduated in 2019. He started his college career at Lincolnland and then went to UIS as well. And I just pulled it up because I knew he threw well and was like one of their main arms, but he actually last year led UIS in innings pitched. He threw 70 innings. So just Drew Walbrink, like I know, like you said, the velo is kind of low 80s right now, but if it's anything like his brother, like I would stay on that guy.
Yep. And yeah, like I said, the kid just was a competitor who threw strikes. Like, he got outs and a lot of weak ground outs, which was impressive too. And but yeah, the last guy that I saw, and kind of the reason that I was sticking around specifically was to see Andrew Dawson, a 2026 from Oak Forest, who was uncommitted. And the polish was not there in this look. He was kind of getting hit around a little bit, but still intriguing nonetheless. Really wiry frame that looks like seemingly a ton of upside. And the fastball was 84 to 88. He was up to 89. It had some arm side run at times, and then he threw a curveball that was 69 to 71. And a changeup that had fade that was like 74 or 77. So just an arm to kind of keep an eye on that's uncommitted still from Oak Forest there. But a couple more arms just to touch on. Again, these were from some of our other scouts that were out watching the games, not either of us four. But right-handed pitcher Tyler Powell, a 2025 from SIUE. He committed to SIUE from Edwardsville. He threw 3 innings, struck out 7. Fastball was 86 to 87, and his slider was 78 to 79, with sharp late action. And then Lucas Grant.
But I actually saw him last week as well against Manuka. And it looks like this week he was 87, 88, touching 89. I actually had him up to 90 last week, but he had a good slider, good changeup. He's got feel for all three of them. Really high-waisted kid. Would not be surprised if he, doesn't already have a little bit of pro attention, but definitely throughout college, as he continues to get stronger, he could be a pro guy one day.
Yeah, and then a few guys from Washington. I don't think any of us saw them, but I mean, I knew I'll be out to see them a few times this spring, so I didn't want to kind of watch them down at the Kickoff Classic just yet. But we had some of our guys down there, and Gavin Lawrence, shortstop, uncommitted 2025, showed well. Left fielder Dylan McGinnis showed well. He's a 2025. And then I saw a swing from Camden Augustine, who right-handed hitter for them. I had not heard that name before, but the swing looked really good. It was very compact, short to the ball, and looked like it had some bat speed through the zone. And then, I think that kind of wraps up our coverage of the Kickoff Classic from this week, at least on the podcast. Obviously, we're going to have a ton of stuff still coming out from our scout blogs. We'll get some videos out. I know personally, this is being recorded on Monday. I just have some videos I want to get out still, probably today and tomorrow. But keep an eye out for our scout blogs to have more coverage on these players that we saw. So the next thing we'll get into now is to round this out as our prospect of the week. And I think we each kind of went with guys that we saw at the Kickoff Classic. So Drew, if you want to kick us off here, I see you've got your guy in here.
Yeah, I was getting ready to mention him when I was talking about Triad and watching them play this weekend. But Sawyer Brunson, uncommitted senior, unsigned senior from Triad, got the start in game 1 of their games on Saturday morning. Threw against Galesburg. I just really liked it. It's not an overly big kid. He's a smaller stature guy. I really like the arm. It's clean, it's quick, and he showed 3 pitches in warmups. I thought the changeup was very serviceable. Come game time, I pretty much saw just fastball, breaking ball. But the fastball was all around the zone. It was 85, 86, touched 87, comes out of the hand really clean, pretty easy, and then mixes in a above average breaking ball. It was 73, 75, slider type shape, maybe a little bit of sweep to it, um, but had above average feel and was mixing and matching with the fastball, trying to pitch backwards on some guys, get ahead on some guys with the breaking ball, put away some guys on the breaking ball. So it just, a name to know out there if you're a college in need of an arm for next year, but also just yet another quality arm for triad. So that was my prospect of the week.
I'm going to stick with an arm as well, an uncommitted senior here, Braden Deverman from Normal U High. Pretty strong, durable frame, 6'3", 200, so stands out a little bit. So he's coming off TJ, but he was up to an 89. And it looked like on Twitter over the winter we'd seen like 90, 91, so the 89 makes perfect sense with it being, cold, all that, the elements, all that. But had a good little upper 70s curveball as well, but he's a clean mover, especially for the size. The arm works as well, kind of a higher 3/4 release, but I'm a fan of him. It's hard not to like a power arm like that. High academic kid, so definitely one to get on if you're still looking for an arm. Like I mentioned, high academic.
Yeah, then my guy is Mick Niebrugge from Teutopolis, 2025 uncommitted senior. I want to say, Gav, he showed really well for you earlier this winter. Was that our Southern Illinois preseason ID?
Yep, on the mound and at the plate.
Awesome. Started at first base for the Wooden Shoes Wednesday, and first at bat just sends a long homer that got out in a hurry over there at Plummer Park Wednesday, and really liked the swing. He's got some strong hands. It's a flatter path. He's right-handed, but also really loved the look at first base during I.O. Now, he didn't get a ton of action in game, but really smooth mover for a first baseman. He's a guy, I don't have his height and weight in front of me, but the frame, like, he could probably easily add 10 to 20 pounds once he gets into a college weight program if he really wanted to. There's still a ton of room to go there, but yeah, I was a huge fan all around, just with the bat and defensively. So, Mick Niebrugge.
Yeah, and then to round this out, my prospect of the week is TJ Heatherly. He's a right-handed pitcher from Galesburg, 2026, uncommitted arm. We've seen him this past winter up to like 88, I believe. But in this look, he was 82 to 85. He touched 86, and it was like a true sinker. I don't know if that was intentional because I was looking back at his metrics from Peoria, and it wasn't really like a sinker fastball, but he was getting so many swing and misses with his fastball because it was just dropping off through the zone in the low to mid 80s, and I was very impressed with his fastball. And then his curveball was 71 to 72, 11.5 shape. He worked it low in the zone, and the frame, I was trying to find how tall he is. It's probably 6'2", 6'3", but let me double check to make sure because it's an upside frame that has like seemingly still more to come, I would say. 6'1", 190, but it looks like he can still add strength to that frame as well. But yeah, uncommitted, TJ Heatherly from Galesburg. He's a 2026 that impressed. But that will wrap up episode 20 of the Bullpen. Obviously, we had a lot of stuff to unpack, but I'm personally just very excited to finally get to be talking about this in-game high school season stuff. It's really fun to get to cover this and see all these schools and see all these players and just gain all this knowledge on even guys that maybe we didn't see in the preseason or we haven't seen prior, as we talked about a lot of guys like that in this episode. So I'm excited for that, but appreciate you guys and appreciate everybody listening. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and just follow along on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you listen there. So appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.